Also, can we talk about their concerts for a second? Because they're so small. They're chipmunks. They're so small. So you need cameras on them to blow them up in the background.
Yeah.
So when you go to a concert, unless you're in the very front row, you cannot see the chipmunks.
Yeah.
They're basically VTubers.
Welcome back to Nostalgia Club. This is a show where three sound designers take a break from work to talk about media and books and movies and things that they liked when they were young or that they liked right now and talk about them with each other and just have a good old time. Occasionally, and by occasionally I mean one time at the end of season 1, instead of revisiting something that we all had positive experiences with of ourselves, we decided to take a dip into the stock of internet memes that existed kind of contemporary to our lives right now. And we watched the Bee Movie. That was the end of season 1. We are now doing what I can only describe as a spiritual successor to that episode by we watched and now we are going to talk about Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel. I want to preface this with a couple things. One is that we just finished talking about The Tale of Despereaux.
A beautiful story.
A beautiful story, complex.
Nuanced.
Full
of grace.
And if you ever considered... I know I haven't introduced the both of you, just let me get through this. If you ever considered... if you ever considered reading The Tale of Despereaux and immediately shotgunning Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, don't do it. And I'm not being cheeky with that. It's too much whiplash. Tonally, it'll take you for a ride. And I did that kind of with this. There was even a full day separation, and I still had nightmares. I had a wild sequence of nightmares.
Dear listener, Michael is exhausted.
I'm so tired.
He looks gaunt. There's a flock of crows slowly circling up above.
Oh, you see them too. So that's the first disclaimer, is that I'm feeling real wonky today. And I was maintaining some decorum for Despereaux, and it's no holds barred. It's going to be no holds barred for Alvin and the Chipmunks. The second disclaimer is, even though it's no holds barred for me, massive respect to everyone who put together what I can only describe as clearly a very impressive feat that they had to do 4 times for merging live action and animated stuff, having 3 real-life rodents interact with physical things and making it work. A lot of planning, careful execution, and all props to the animators who had to convey some nuanced rodent emotions on these.
Nuance is the right word.
Well, they occasionally they have some interesting interactions that I got to give credit to. Some of the writing, which may be a surprise, just some of the conversations that they have with each other, trying to navigate whatever. We'll talk about it.
Michael, you are so right. Hi, Jino here, Nostalgical Post.
Yeah, I was about to say, hi, introduce yourselves.
I'm Victoria.
Excellent. Michael, you're so right. No one making this movie did a bad job. The actors, excellent. The CGI, for its time, it holds up. It's good. Sets are great. Everyone seems like they're having fun.
Yeah, everyone really seems like they're putting in 110%.
There's something deeper here. There's something maybe even on a higher level, higher plane of wrong. There's something cold and mechanical. There's something corporate and unjust. There's something just a little up about watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, especially right after reading The Tale of Despereaux, especially having not watched the first one. There's something different in the air, in the ground, in the water.
And that's exactly why we're doing this. Hello, listener. This is my fault. I fully admit. Basically, I was last season was pretty great. We ended the season with Percy Jackson, a fan favorite, But I don't know. I kind of was we've had a great season 3. We've had a lot of excellent episodes. And I just was guys, can we please end the season with a really chaotic one? And so I pitched Alvin and the Chipmunks. And then specifically, we were like, well, which Alvin and the Chipmunks movie should we watch? Because there's like 4 of these.
Which was a surprise to all of us that they made 4 of these.
I only knew about the 3rd one. I stopped paying attention after that. But yes, there are 4 of these live action Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. And we were like, well, the Squeakquel is just iconic because it's the Squeakquel, and that's what they called it.
Yeah, it was a meme powerhouse for a little while there. Just the word Squeakquel.
It's like Electric Boogaloo,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know what Electric Boogaloo means. I don't know what it is.
It's in reference to a song or something. I don't know.
And I didn't know what the Squeakquel was either, but now I do.
Anyway, so we were like, it'd be really funny if we watched just the Squeakquel and didn't watch the first Alvin and the Chipmunks movie. I have seen it in the past. I just don't remember very much of it. And boy, was it a ride. So that's what we're talking about today.
I think the word used earlier to describe the watching experience was stressful.
It was a very stressful movie. I've never been more stressed watching a movie.
You guys had a really different experience than I did.
So I guess I'll start with my history with Alvin and the Chipmunks. I definitely watched these movies. Watching this movie was a series of flashbacks where I was like, I have some of this dialogue like seared into my brain. So I must have watched it more than once.
Whoa.
You know, I remember vividly the scene where their aunt, Jackie, goes down the stairs in her wheelchair. As soon as it started, I was horrified, but it wasn't just horror because of this horrible thing that was about to happen. Well, that was happening and how injured she was about to get, but it brought back the horror that I felt when I first watched the movie as well. So I was just watching it and I was like, oh God, this is really bad. And I remember how stressful it was when I watched it for the first time. And it's still just as stressful now that I'm watching it. I definitely remember the Squeakquel more than the first one. But
Wild.
I don't know if it's because I just watched it. I don't know if I will have similar thoughts if I rewatch the first movie. I did get both movies from the library because I was like, maybe if I have time, at least one of us needs to have some context for the first movie.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. Did you check out 2 physical copies?
Yeah.
Did a librarian watch you check them out?
No, I put them on hold. And
Okay.
I did self-checkout at the library.
There's something wonderful about the image of Victoria walking into a library, head held high, walking directly to the movie section, picking out Alvin and the Chipmunks and Alvin and the Chipmunks 2, walking to the checkout center and saying, oh yeah, I'm going to watch these
Yeah.
by myself. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does convoke a certain emotion.
I do also feel like the experience of watching Alvin and the Chipmunks by yourself is just a special level of cursed. Because I watched it with my brother, and when I rewatched the B movie, I watched it with friends. But there's just something about it was 3 p.m. on a weekday, and I was like, I guess I have time in my schedule right now to watch Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I put it in my DVD player, and I watched the whole movie. And I was like, I don't think it's as fun when it's just me. I need to watch it at least with someone, so at least there's someone who can witness how insane this is.
Okay, so a little background. I'm on Wikipedia, that's all. Alvin and the Chipmunks was originally called David Seville, after their quote-unquote human father. It was originally called David Seville and the Chipmunks. And what does this say? Billed for their first 2 decades as the Chipmunks, an American animated virtual band and media franchise first created by Ross Bagdasarian for Novelty Records in 1958.
Oh, so they're just like the Gorillas. In every way.
In a way.
I assume they would take songs, make high-pitched covers of them, and then sell that as a fun thing, right?
It seems that way. Ross Bagdasarian used this special, I think it was rather new at the time, technique to pitch up his voice by like speeding up a recording. That was how he created the voices of the Chipmunks.
Right, because they would sing it really slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how he did it. He released something called the Chipmunk Song, which is when he came up with the names of the characters. And I guess it really took off. And I mean, hey, look, when I was in second grade, I have a very specific memory. I can remember it being around holiday season. It's like December. And you're doing your work in class, and the teacher goes, all right, I'll put on the holiday, CD music mix if everyone can be quiet and do their work. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting because I know that Alvin and the Chipmunks Christmas time song is going to come around, and it plays, and I get no work done during that time because I'm just sitting there giddy with glee listening to the Alvin and the Chipmunk song. So this is definitely like a time of life thing. It definitely has its place. But I don't know, being as old as I am now, I listen to their voices and I'm like, this is hitting an octave for me. That is, it's pinging a place in my brain.
It's painful.
It
hurts to hear.
When you're a kid, I think your brain just has more elasticity.
Yeah.
Just something in you is like able to like jello absorb frequencies like that and just keep on trucking. And for me, for whatever reason, I was like, this is too much.
Big props to the dialogue editing team on that movie.
Yeah, as well as to the actors who were portraying, and there are like 6 actors, or I think even more, who have to portray the Chipmunks.
Isn't one of them Justin Timberlake? Isn't he Theodore? I read that somewhere as a kid, and I've always believed it.
No, Jesse McCartney is Theodore. There's
Close enough?
The Chipmunks have a speaking voice and then a singing voice. So the speaking voice is different than the singing voice generally. Although Janice Carmen was like 3 singing voices. 4, actually. She was Brittany, Jeanette, Theodore, and Eleanor.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Justin Long
Those
was
are all Chipmunks,
Alvin.
by the way.
Yeah. Christina Applegate was Brittany. Matthew Gray Gubler was Simon. Anna Faris was Jeanette. Jesse McCartney was Theodore. And Amy Poehler was Eleanor.
So there are some stars in this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Both as the Chipmunks and on screen. And we'll get to those people.
Mm-hmm.
If I may, when I was a child, my first MP3 player was a little black Samsung thing. I can't remember the brand exactly. It had 3 songs on it. I put 3 songs on this MP3 player. I had Iron Man by Black Sabbath. I had The Witch Doctor by Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I had Funky Town by Alvin and the Chipmunks. I loved Alvin and the Chipmunks. I would listen to those 3 songs on loop for hours. I was obsessed with Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Hey, fair.
This movie hurts to watch. Those 2 facts can be true at the same time. This is a movie for kids. We are not judging it because it is a movie for kids. We're judging it because when I put my eyes and ears on it, I am in physical pain. No one in this movie has done anything wrong. No one making the movie has done anything wrong.
Exactly.
It's just, there's something in it. I keep coming back to it. There's something in it.
Yeah.
The kids love it. I loved it as a kid. Good for me. Good for them. That should never change.
Yeah.
Kids will always love white man gets tormented by a 3D live action character. It keeps happening.
Okay, I got a confession to make. I know everybody's all into the Sonic movies. I haven't actually seen the Sonic movies. I'm just like, But I feel like, Sonic movies, the Godzilla movies or whatever, everyone's like, yeah. CGI thing torments a white guy. But everyone just wants to see the CGI thing do its thing.
Yeah.
In this movie, I was like, just give me the guy.
There are multiple points in the movie where something I never thought I would ever wish for in this sort of movie happened, where I was like, yes. Like, so, not to jump ahead, but a big feature of this movie is that we have 3 female chipmunks.
They're called the Chipettes.
They're like the
girl versions.
The shadow versions, whatever, right?
Film negative versions.
When you learn that, you're like, ugh. They did the thing where they like, oh, we have this like generic stock male character. We need to like the girl version of it.
Expand the branding, the marketing opportunities.
Give the animal like a womanly figure. Ugh, gross. When we got to the point of the movie where they showed up, I was so grateful Because until that point, it had just been shot after shot of human women lusting after this small rodent and vice versa. And I was so done with it. And when these 3 animated love interests finally showed up, I was like on my knees crying because finally, now the animated rats won't talk about getting with the human women.
Can we talk
and
about
vice
that?
versa.
Can we talk about that for a sec? They do something very specific with that, where it's like, yeah, the chipmunks show up to school and everyone kind of knows they exist and is like treating them. It's
They're
weird
like celebrities because
Yeah.
they're like in a band. Again, we did not watch the first movie, so we forgot how they got into this band. They're like touring and stuff, but
they
then
got notoriety.
But then their dad, Dave, gets into a horrible stage accident, and so they can't like tour anymore. So he's like, you guys are gonna go to school. You're gonna try and live normal lives.
Why?
Because they're sentient, I guess.
I guess he's like doing his best. You know, like there's no rule book for how you parent 3 chipmunks.
But they're chipmunks.
I do like how when they first get to school, like the big problem they have to face immediately is just nobody sees them because they're chipmunks. And so they have to just avoid a bunch of footfalls. I was like, this is funny.
Yeah.
But they're chipmunks. The first shot of the first movie, which I do remember, I remember this part, is them living in a tree because they're chipmunks.
Oh.
They were wild animals. They don't need to go to school. Why all of a sudden are they going to school? Why? What changed? What happened? Is there a law now?
Hey, I think it's one of those, the bylaws say a dog can't play basketball.
But they don't say the chipmunks have to go to school. High school? How old are they? Theodore acts like he's 3. Alvin speaks like he's 104. Like, why is Bridgit Mendler there?
Yeah,
She's
how
a
about
CEO.
that, huh?
She's like a freaking genius.
Yeah, she was like basically the most legendarily successful, went up high in the air in terms of child stardom and stuck the landing like no one's business. I don't know her, but I'm going to make that judgment call and say,
No,
wow.
she seems great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seems like she's got it handled. In this movie, she lusts after the chipmunk.
Okay, but coming back to that, they have the chipmunks show up and then all the high school girls run up and, treat them like movie rock stars in a movie about rock stars, which isn't how people would actually treat those kinds of people necessarily, as far as I know. And they freak out. And then Alvin does like a whole thing where he's like acting the part of like, aha, I'm a sexy chipmunk. Aren't you attracted to me? And the way they look at them is like, oh, they're adorable. And then later on, when they're talking about the chipmunks to each other, they're like, aren't they cute? Aren't they adorable? And the whole time, Alvin is playing up this like sexy
he says,
bad boy persona.
call me.
Yeah, but like the only time that we get from the movie an actual explicit like Alvin is feeling a romantic connection or whatever is when the female versions of the chipmunks show up. So I think Alvin is just acting out a portrayal that he has seen human like celebrities do. And he is, because it's canonically in the movie that he has issues with ego.
Yeah.
I'm in my over-analysis mode. I'm very tired. I think Alvin is acting out a performance of humanity that even he doesn't understand.
That's so deep. That's so much better than my service level interspecies relationship is bad. That's fascinating.
Well, look, it's either my weird little headspace or it's exactly what you said, and I know which I would rather be true.
Alvin, he's one of only 2 characters in this entire movie who you could psychoanalyze and get something interesting out of. The other being Ian, that's his name, right?
Oh, the antagonist.
The antagonist. Ian Hawke.
Yeah.
That's the Smosh guy.
No.
Ian Hawke.
I just said yeah because I assumed.
Ian Hawke.
Ian Hawke.
They're the only 2 characters.
You said Hawks. That was close to Hawk.
Yeah. The only 2 characters you could psychoanalyze and like get something out of. The rest of the characters are like nothing. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
I like your interpretation much better, Michael.
Yeah.
Because it lets me look at it with less pain.
I mean, I don't think that the girls were like lusting over the chipmunks. I also interpreted similar to Michael, where it was more like they were like, oh, these chipmunks are so cute. We're like fans of these band members or whatever.
If I may counterpoint, when Eda the Owl Lady shows up,
Oh, yeah.
because she's in this
Okay.
movie.
Yeah.
Why is she in this
The
movie?
principle is
her
weird.
name is Wendy Malick.
When Wendy Malick voice of iconic Eda the Owl Lady.
I was watching the movie and I was like, why is her voice so familiar?
She's
and I was
so committed.
And I was
She's
sitting there
fantastic.
just being like, I've heard this voice a lot. And then I had to look her up. And I was like, Eda the Owl Lady.
Eda the Owl Lady.
I loved her every time she was on screen.
She's one of the best parts of the movie. She's fantastic, and she looks at the Chipmunks with a certain gaze. And she has their faces tattooed on her arm. And there's just something...
And Alvin is visibly uncomfortable.
And Alvin is uncomfortable, and I'm uncomfortable. And I'm mostly thinking about how Eda the Owl Lady's on screen.
Yeah.
I don't have anything more to say to that. It's just
You're just grappling.
The movie's not gross. It doesn't take it anywhere it's not supposed to go, but it feels wrong to me.
I mean, I just hated when like the Chipettes started dancing for the first time.
That was a little.
And I was like, that was the level where I was like, this is uncomfortable. Like they animated these female chipmunks like to be sexy, like hip waving, and like I was like, this is bad. I don't like that.
I'm just so grateful that they didn't do the reverse of Alvin and the human fans, the human girls.
Yeah.
I'm so glad, because I was expecting that. I was like, oh, they're gonna do a thing, but they didn't, and I'm glad they didn't.
I did get very uncomfortable when antagonist Ian Hawke was like, let's take this up to my penthouse suite.
No, I was like,
girls don't go.
Yeah, the context of like these young female chipmunks going to Ian Hawke, who's like just wearing like a silk bathrobe.
And presumably nothing under there.
Yeah. And he's like looking at them being like, aha, like my next business venture or whatever. But like...
It's allegorical, we could say.
Yeah, it's just not... It's very uncomfortable and I don't like it. And also, another thing...
One could say the movie is doing its job.
That's true.
Uh-oh, to give it a little credit,
Yeah.
the movie is making us real sketched out by this guy.
Yeah. The actor, David Cross, who plays Ian Hawke, he was recently in The Umbrella Academy Season 4, which I just finished watching.
Yeah.
And as soon as he showed up on screen, I was like, I know he's like an actor and I've like seen him in things, but I was trying to place like where exactly, like what form of media I'd seen him in that like I was recalling. And I realized I was like, do I actually mostly remember him from Alvin and the Chipmunks?
I mean, yeah.
That's so horrifying.
For me, it was Kung Fu Panda. He voices Crane in Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, but like that's his voice. So I was like, I just had like such like a clear memory of like his face. I looked up his IMDb and I was trying to be like, what was he in? And I was like, okay, like I've seen these movies, but I don't think that's what I'm looking for. And then it was the silk bathrobe. I was like, something about him in the silk bathrobe. I was like, horrible.
It was giving me, I had never seen this movie all the way through, but it was on a lot when I was much younger. It was giving me shades of Big Fat Liar, which was, I think, like, is that like a Disney kids-oriented like,
I've seen a
movie?
million commercials. I've never actually seen it.
But that wasn't, of course, David Cross. That was Paul Giamatti, was it? Plays like a predatory, Machiavellian, nefarious Hollywood big shot.
But it's a similar vibe.
Yeah.
I've seen David Cross in a few things, and he always sort of commits to like an over-the-top, like either villainous or bumbling character who you're not really supposed to root for and just kind of laugh at.
Yeah.
And he really commits to those roles. And he does a great job. His character's gross.
Yeah.
Which is, he did it. He did it.
He did it.
And,
the movie
oh
as
boy,
well.
He's always acting against nothing. He's acting against these fictional things, and he does a great job.
Maybe it helps that it's like the second one, though I don't know. I imagine when you're all in an environment like that together, shooting a film like that, depending on the people you have involved, because some people I'm sure will just be like totally checked out, but it's got to help if you're all like on the same wavelength of, this is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
This can be whatever we want it to be.
Yeah.
Let's just go all out with it.
Especially if you're making a sequel and you're like, the first one made $1 bazillion.
Yeah.
So like people think this is good and funny. So let's commit. Let's be weird and funny.
Yeah.
And yell at these like children? Question mark?
Jason Lee plays Dave Seville.
I didn't remember Dave at all.
Jason Lee was smart. He cut his check and then dipped out for most of the movie.
Jason Lee, actually, my uncle taught Jason Lee when he was in like
snap.
middle school. My aunt, I think, also taught Patrick Warburton when he was in elementary school. I just get random little Little
Dang.
lore
The world
drops.
is so small. No, I don't remember Jason Lee as Dave whatsoever. I mostly only remember Zachary Levi's character, Toby.
That
But-
was a jump scare for me. When he just showed up, Zachary Levi, he was Chuck. He's Shazam. He's Harold the Purple Crayon.
Oh, okay.
That's a meme for some reason.
Wait,
People
was,
think
it's
was there
funny.
a Harold in the Purple Crayon?
There's a movie that's
movie?
either coming out or it's out. I guess some studio executive saw Shazam and was like, oh, this man plays an adult child really well. So now he's Harold, back from Purple Crayon dimension, and he's an adult,
No, don't do
but
that.
he has the purple crayon still,
no.
and then he like makes stuff.
I hate that. I hate that as a concept. Why would you ruin Harold in the Purple Crayon in this way?
People are reacting to it. I think a similar way they reacted to Morbius, which is like with like mirth.
A kind of like staring into the void, the
Yeah.
absurdity of it all, and going, I choose to feel joy.
Exactly. Zachary Levi is in Alvin and the Chipmunks too. He plays a nerd.
He plays kind of I guess he's a post-college or high school, I don't know.
He's
It's
incredibly relatable.
very. There's
He's not a
something-
nerd. He's a gamer. That's
He's a
different.
gamer.
That's different. He's a gamer. He plays some sort of fighting game on the Xbox and
True.
Wii Sports Bowling. Those are his two games.
Yes. I gotta say, weirdly, I appreciate the vagueness. Whenever he talks about the game he's got to play, it doesn't sound like stilted and
Yeah.
awkward. It's very casual. You get the sense that he's like in some kind of tournament league or something, and it's like, I don't know. I just appreciated that. To what you said, Jino, about Zachary Levi being able to play like man-children
Mhm.
or whatever, to me, that's sort of what this character, Toby, was like.
Yeah.
Except he also has to be kind of like a haphazard big brother character, like when Theodore gets scared and goes to him for help.
Yeah, yeah. He's
And-
basically like, I was not supposed to be babysitting these chipmunks, but unfortunately, my mother fell down the stairs.
Or is
And
that
the-
grandma? I think it was his grandma.
The second of, I think, 3 major full body accidents in the movie.
I
Yeah.
was like, so many people get so horrifically injured. That's part of why this movie was so stressful. And I was just stressed watching people like, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know how I felt about it when I was young. I remember the wheelchair thing being stressful, but I don't know like if the other like physical comedy quote unquote moments were more or less stressful when I was a kid. But yeah, that was stressful. And also just the idea of these 3 chipmunks being left on their own with no adult supervision was also stressful. But I think
they
maybe
were fine before. They lived in a tree. They were fine.
Apparently
true.
not. They ate of the forbidden fruit, Gino, and they
Okay,
desired
Toby-
fame.
Toby is
yeah.
Jackie's grandson and Dave's cousin. So anyways,
But
yeah.
hey, out of that scene where Jackie falls down the stairs, there was one positive thing that came out of that. The really hot Asian paramedic who has one line.
I gotta look this up now. I need context.
like a young Daniel Day Kim. He had just a ton of. Never mind. I'm just gonna leave it. Anyway.
No, please elaborate.
No, it's fine.
Nope.
Are you trying to find the scene?
Oh, I'm there.
He had a great line delivery too.
Do you
Just makes-
remember the guy?
No, because Jackie was like, "Don't worry, I'll be fine in a few days," and he was like, "I wouldn't count on it."
Wouldn't be so sure. Not bad.
I don't need you to agree with me, Michael. Just listen, I was this, like, what is it, 10 minutes, 15 minutes into this movie? My ears were bleeding. My brain was spinning. I needed one source of light, and there he was.
You know, that's fair.
The
That's
hero,
deeply fair.
the hero of Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, that paramedic guy.
Also, Alvin sucks. Sorry, I'll calm down.
No, it's
I
okay.
don't like Alvin the Chipmunk.
The Alvin that exists purely in music form in those novelty songs, I think is far more likable. But then again, he is a simpler character.
They had to give him a character arc.
I did appreciate, here I go. I did appreciate that, like, even though they set that up at the beginning and it's part of his arc throughout the movie, it's more like an aspect of his personality that he's caught between. He doesn't turn into a total monster and totally disregard his brothers. It's more like he just gets caught up,
Yeah.
like, at the worst times when the decisions really, like, compound. But he's still able to, like, turn it around, and I can believe that he's turning it around.
Yeah. There were some scenes where I'm like, oh, this is like, there's good in you, father. There's good. Oh, this is like a good nuanced scene. And then there were some scenes where I'm like, there was no point to this besides the physical comedy of it. And in this situation, he really is unlikable.
Yeah, no, definitely the main source of my stress was Alvin, just because most of the bad ideas are his. Simon's there to be the voice of reason. Simon's my favorite. No, actually, I actually think Theodore is my favorite chipmunk because he's just cute. But Simon being the voice of reason, I was like, yeah.
Simon is also a complex character. Theodore's whole character is, hi, I'm Theodore, and I'm scared of large predatory birds, which I think for him is a totally reasonable fear to have.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to face it, because when you're a small mouse, when you're a chipmunk and you face your fear, you die. Theodore is losing his survival instinct, and when they eventually do release him back into the wild, he will last a day.
Aw. Theodore, no! No, I just thought it was really sad when he, slept alone in the hallway because,
Why didn't he go back to the chair?
because his brothers abandoned him.
And they also
Toby,
left the chair. The chair's still there. Theodore, go back to the chair.
But the chair has memories of his brothers.
It's a chair! Why are they sleeping in a chair? Don't they have beds?
They have beds, but I think, it's one of those, Dad's not here, we can sleep in the living room while watching TV, that kind of thing.
I do love that they all love Meerkat Manor,
Yeah.
the TV
By the
show.
way,
That's a good
Meerkat
one.
Manor is narrated by Sean Astin, Samwise Gamgee.
Oh, yeah.
I never knew that.
No, recently, because Sean Astin was in Stranger Things, so now a lot of people in a younger generation know him as Bob from Stranger Things. And people are like, how dare you? Samwise Gamgee did not walk all the way from the
Up
Shire
Mount Doom.
to Mordor to be called Bob from Stranger Things.
To be fair, I bet a lot of people probably felt the same way about him with the Goonies. They were like, he's from the Goonies. What's this Lord of the Rings
Yeah, that's fair.
nonsense?
But I digress. I found out who the actor is for the paramedic.
Who?
His name is Lanny June.
Okay, you know what? Here's
Do you know Lanny June?
No. When I was looking at the list of cast members to try and refresh my memory, even though I didn't remember him from the scene, I landed on his face and I was like, who are you?
Hey!
This is what he looks like now.
Yeah, he's sort of...
He does kind
maybe
of-
not anymore, but he did look like a young Daniel Day-Kim. He's got his own thing going on.
Yeah.
I'll
He
say
was in
that.
Baby Driver.
Oh, yeah, he was the guy who got the wrong masks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah!
I do want to say that when they first go to high school, they're using B-roll of what seems like actual high school footage. Either that or some very well-directed extras in some establishing shots. And considering this was made in 2009 and I was in high school from 2009 to 2012, got me a little nostalgic.
Oh.
I was like, there it is.
Did you spend as much time in your high school gym as they do in this movie?
Oh, no.
So, boy, do they really make use of that gym.
Yeah.
That's true. I was going to say, you rarely actually see the Chipmunks attending class besides PE.
I think that would be interesting. I want the Chipmunks to learn about, World War II.
All these chipmunks who have no stake in no personal legacy necessarily in the human experiment, right? The human history of things, who emerged from the forest and are like, all right, look, you want to take part in the human condition and fame and all this? You have to now embrace all of this other stuff too.
With the light comes the darkness. I've got a list of things. It's just like the B movie. I made a list as I was watching. Ian choreographs all the dances, though. I thought that was a fun thing to find out. All the Chipettes dances, that was him, baby. He does it for them, and they copy him like the Suzuki method,
What a fascinating character Ian is. He's so absolutely covetous for wealth and status that he will do anything.
Yeah.
He will debase himself.
Anything.
And he's also decently competent, it seems.
Yeah, he knows how to get people to call and book them for things. Like he booked, like their first big booking was opening for Britney Spears.
He does miracles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's so committed when they like show off at the school for like that tryout or whatever. He puts on like a full light gear setup, which I did audibly go, huh, at when it cuts to him, and he's like wiggling and gyrating to get all the lights he's strapped to his body, like do a full light show. And I'm like, oh, he's like, this character is committed to making this work.
He gets in his own way.
Yeah.
If he would just set aside his ego, he'd be a star, baby.
Technically, like, if he could just get over the, like, I'm going to make the Chipettes do whatever I want them to do, then he would have, like, a really great group and be able to get them to stardom pretty easily. Because again, opening for Britney Spears as your first gig is crazy. Hypothetically, like even if they had passed up that opportunity, I'm sure they could have gotten something else.
Well, you know, you got 3 singing chipmunks. You're going to land somewhere.
Exactly.
Which brings me to a question I had for both of you. The appeal of the Chipmunks and the Chipettes is that they are singing chipmunks.
Mm-hmm.
But once the world gets used to that, is there a point to them?
I mean, Ian does say, like, well, the world's already got singing chipmunks, but they don't have singing girl chipmunks.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the fad of the chipmunk image fades.
The great chipmunk image.
Then they're just a cover band.
Well,
that's true.
That's when you go to Vegas, baby.
They get a residency in Vegas?
I mean, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
No, that's fair, though, because it's like, aside from the fact that they are singing chipmunks, they don't really have anything else, like, going for them.
Yeah.
They even emphasize, like, Alvin is mainly the star of the Chipmunks, and Simon and Theodore, they're mostly just, like, backing him up. There's multiple moments in this movie where, like, Alvin's at a football game or Alvin's rescuing the Chipettes, and Simon and Theodore are like, we can't go on stage because Alvin's not here. I'm like, but you guys can also sing.
They describe it as like, we've only ever sang together, all 3 of us.
Yeah.
If Alvin was there, he would have dropped whoever wasn't like a sack of potatoes for his own ego.
You want more prompts? I got more prompts.
Yeah.
Give him.
Who was that sewer bear? What was that?
Oh my gosh.
What was... He wears a tie? He wears like a ska tie?
It must have been from the first movie.
That's gotta have been from the first movie, right?
There's
the sewer bear.
In the chase sequence near the end when Alvin is trying to rescue the Chipettes.
Oh, yeah.
And then out of the sewer is another CGI animated critter that is like sentient. Was this a character that was around maybe at the beginning of the first movie when the Chipmunks were in the forest?
I don't remember. Why is he in the sewer now?
I was like, whoa.
I wonder if it's, like, in the broader canon of...
Just like a reference that, like, no one will get ever.
Okay, so he's a gopher, and his name is Digger. There's apparently a thing called The Adventures of Digger and Friends where he's, like, obsessed with NASCAR. It's, like, not related to Alvin and the Chipmunks. It's just, like, another Fox property where they decided he needs a cameo in Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, and that's it. The series follows Digger's life and adventures in a racetrack with his friend Marbles, his girlfriend Annie, his grandpa Gramps, and a police officer that chases Digger's mischievous acts, Lumpy Wheels, who is named after former Fox Sports president David Hill and former Charlotte Motor Speedway general manager Humpy Wheeler. They're like a series, it's not a show, it's just like a series of like videos that show before NASCAR on Fox, like pre-race shows.
Oh, so like people who like NASCAR would recognize this character and go, haha.
But it's so random for Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Very random. They establish early in the movie that while the Chipmunks are terrified of the school bullies, if pushed, they can and will do real physical damage to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they refuse to use this power for the rest of the movie. Just like Force Speed in The Phantom Menace. I posit that whenever the bullies step to the Chipmunks could and should kill them.
Well, like the power dynamic is immediately like, I mean, they give a swirly to Simon, and because Simon is a chipmunk, it almost does drown him.
Yes.
It almost does flush him down the toilet, which I don't know if they would be liable for murder because they're chipmunks and there's nothing on the books about things that are sentient but are not human. Oh, that's something that brings up to my mind. What rules are we using for the chipmunks here? Are we using C.S. Lewis line in The Witch and the Wardrobe rules where if it seems human but it's not, watch out? Or are we using Medwin from Book of Three rules, which is if it's not human, just live and let live? I'll be honest, I'm veering a little to the former.
Animals exist in this world. Regular, non-talking animals exist.
Yeah.
But also multiple species of talking sentient animals who like to wear clothes and walk around their hind legs and sing do exist.
Victoria, you saw the first movie.
Vaguely.
When the chipmunks revealed themselves, was the reaction, oh my, what? No, talking chipmunks? Impossible. Or was it, oh, talking chipmunks? Huh, how about that? Because if it's the second one, it means that it's happened before.
I'm pretty sure it's the first one.
So it's unbelievable to them.
Dave is surprised.
Yeah. I don't remember watching the movie, but I'm looking on Wikipedia. They follow Dave to his home. Oh, Ian is like Dave's college roommate, by the way.
Oh.
That's kind of funny.
Personal.
Yeah. So Dave discovers the chipmunks in his home. He forces them to leave, but then he hears them sing Only You and Funky Town. And then he's like, okay, if you sing my songs, I will provide you with food and shelter. But it doesn't say like how surprised he was to discover talking chipmunks.
It's like the Pokemon question. Are there normal, regular animals in the Pokemon world? Which some would imply yes and some would imply no, which then raises the second level of question of like, they do eat meat and they are eating Pokemon.
There has to be at least some level of like surprise, because otherwise the concept of singing chipmunks would not be so popular.
Right.
Like if they're like, oh, like, yeah, there's like regular chipmunks and then there's chipmunks that can talk, then Dave wouldn't be surprised to see talking chipmunks. But then similarly, I don't think people would be like, sure, like they're chipmunks who can sing, I guess. I'm gonna guess because it's like the first movie and usually like there's gotta be like some like justification or like explanation for why, or like at least the characters have to like acknowledge that this is unusual, but we're just gonna move past it. Like, we're going to acknowledge that it's crazy that these chipmunks can talk, but from there on, whatever.
But that's the thing, though, because the whole part of their appeal is that it is crazy.
Yeah.
In the first movie, they're just in a tree, they're singing, I think it's chopped down or something, and then they do hijinks, right? They're not like products of experimentation. They don't like touch toxic goo or something.
Yeah.
This raises a plethora of ethical questions about the use and consumption of animals. If some can talk, are they just choosing not to? Can we teach them? Do they want to know?
It's again one of those questions you shouldn't think too hard about.
Do we ever see Alvin and the Chipmunks eat things distinctly?
Yes.
Yeah, they love cheese balls.
Cheese balls, but anything else?
Not really.
I think in the first movie they do eat stuff.
Yeah.
That's like a part of it.
Food
and shelter, you know?
Because now that we talk about this, I'm like, if they eat like, I don't know, animal products, that'd be a wild thing. I mean, I guess animals don't really care.
Chipmunks eat birds like squirrels.
Yeah. Their diet includes seeds, nuts, berries, fruits, flowers, mushrooms, insects, worms, snails, frogs, bird eggs, and small birds. So Alvin and the Chipmunks would enjoy a big steaming bucket of KFC.
Nice.
That sounds good.
I trust him now. So I guess never mind then. Alvin and his cohort can devour whatever they please. And now that they are affiliated with the creatures at the top of the food chain, they can frankly do whatever they want.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I wonder if they're like, cool, I've never had beef before.
That's nuts. Something's wrong with that.
Yeah, something makes me go like,
Well, because it's like, if chipmunks are omnivores, then they could eat a variety of meats.
Yeah,
but
like a small quantity.
Yeah, but like, because they're chipmunks, they can't like hunt cows or whatever. You know?
These aren't normal chipmunks, are they?
No.
There's something wrong with these chipmunks.
It's the specificity of it.
Also,
the fact that they love
Simon,
singing
needs
and they
glasses.
want to be contemporary singers. Oh, yeah, Simon does need glasses.
This is actually the one scene from Alvin and the Chipmunks, the first movie that I remember, is Simon spends most of like the beginning of the movie, like running into things because he can't see. And then Dave is like, oh, you need glasses. So he gives him glasses. And then finally Simon's like, oh my gosh, I've just been living like this.
They're glasses from like a doll or something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Whoever makes tiny things is making bank off of Alvin and these chipmunks.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've got whoever makes the tiny guitars.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that.
gosh.
Like the tiny guitar in the beginning of the movie. I was like,
Real hard to make.
He's got like 5 of them that he can just swap out.
Also, can we talk about their concerts for a second? Because they're so small. They're chipmunks. They're so small. So you need cameras on them to blow them up in the background.
Yeah.
So when you go to a concert, unless you're in the very front row, you cannot see the chipmunks.
Yeah.
They're basically VTubers. You're basically going to go see like a worse Hatsune Miku concert because at least Hatsune Miku sings her own songs.
And at least you can see the projection of Hatsune Miku.
Yes.
That's true. Like, how much are people paying to see Alvin? Like, if I was like someone who wanted to see Alvin and the Chipmunks, like the front row seats must be like $1 bajillion.
It depends. Are they using Ticketmaster? Does Dave go through Ticketmaster?
Yeah, no, but like if you're like in even like the 100 section, you're not seeing these chipmunks.
No. And especially if they're moving around like Alvin does, you're
I was
definitely
just
not
thinking,
seeing
I was like,
these
Oh my
whoever
chipmunks.
gosh.
the camera ops are for these chipmunks got like eyes like lasers. Like,
Unreal.
they
You
run
gotta
so
get-
fast.
You got to get camera ops who are used to like filming like tennis games or like
Yeah.
golf or like, sports with small balls that really zip around.
That's what I was thinking about at the beginning when I was just like, man, like the camera is really tracking like this chipmunk really well. Also, like, how do you even like tell them apart? Like,
They are thankfully color-coded.
no, but like, what if they changed costumes?
If they just decide to mess with people, which they
No,
would,
no, no.
frankly,
Like
they
the
would.
color coding, obviously, but like,
They'd be like Muse when, sorry, this is a deep cut. I think it was like an Italian like talk show that wanted Muse to play on the show, but they refused to let Muse play live music. They wanted Muse to like sing over, pre-recorded stuff. So Muse, without telling anyone, swapped. They have a drummer, a bassist, and a guitarist. They swapped
that's
all 3
really
positions,
funny.
and no one noticed.
That's
I mean,
really funny.
Presumably someone did, but like,
That's like basically for their fans to be like, yeah, we're not playing live.
yeah.
So we're going to, that's actually,
I love that.
that's like if someone was like, hey, Nostalgia Club, we want you guys on our show, but we're going to pre-record it. And then we're like, okay, well,
What is that? So they just start playing the Droon episode, and we're like, pa, 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 pa.
How would a podcaster signal to their
no, I
audience
don't,
that they're
I
not
was just,
podcasting?
I was trying to think of, this is,
I think we should do this. If we ever, by some miracle, ever get enough of a following to like allow for a live show,
yeah.
we'll do a pre-recorded.
Oh my gosh, we go to the effort of like learning each other's words.
No, I think it'd be
So,
like,
I speak
if
for Jino, Jino speaks
we
for
would do
Victoria.
like
Victoria
a funny, like a short intro segment where we
So now we're seriously planning this. Now this is a real thing we're going to try to do.
please like and subscribe so we can do a live show.
Hey, Anime Expo, if you're looking for
What would a live show of Nostalgia Club even look like?
I tremble at the thought.
not
Like,
great.
because the whole conceit of the show is that we've all like read or watched the thing. So does that mean the audience has to have read and watched the thing?
Well,
presumably
presumably
not.
not.
Yeah.
Unless we play all an hour and a half of Alvin and the Chipmunks for them
We
to
watch
enjoy.
the movie and then we will do the live show. No, I don't know. Like,
I mean, that it
if
seems
we
like
did a
that would
live
be
show,
the
it'd
thing.
probably just be us like talking.
Talking about my ice cream dreams.
I hope that one day we could at least do like a panel. That'd be fun at like a
panel.
convention.
You know what I think would be fun? I'm saying this now, and I haven't started to say the idea, but I'm realizing now what a terrible idea it is.
Sounds like it deserves to be heard.
I was like, what if we did a stone soup with everyone at a convention?
No,
but I'm like,
that's
that's
a
how
bad
everyone
idea.
dies.
That's how someone gets poisoned.
That's how we all get poisoned.
Yeah.
That'd be wild. Honestly, though, I think the most likely poison wouldn't be actual poison. It would just be someone who's a little under the weather.
Yeah, we'd all just go down
Yeah.
like crazy. I realize that we're rapidly losing steam talking about Alvin and the Chipmunks 2, the Squeakquel. I have a couple more points I would love to get through.
Of
Okay.
course.
Okay. The Save Our Music Department contest where someone is like, I'll give $25,000 to one school if their students can do a song real good is the most dystopian and yet realistic part of the entire movie.
I'll be honest, because they had 3 different performances, including the Chipmunks. After seeing them all, I was like, I don't think the Chipmunks win.
No, the Chipmunks did not win.
Well, I was just thinking, I was like, the Chipmunks.
Well, the Chipmunks canonically win in the movie.
No,
but,
yeah. But they
I don't-
shouldn't have.
I don't think so, no.
I feel like it'd feel so unfair if I was like a high schooler who like went to one of the other schools to be like, I mean, you got like professional band sensation Alvin and the Chipmunks
Yeah.
to represent your school in this tiny little music competition. I was going to bring this up earlier, but there are some like YouTubers.
You saw Dietrich's, right? The Dietrich's jump scare?
Okay,
I don't have
Dietrich's
context.
is like a YouTuber who, if you've ever watched like Ryan Higa's videos, he's like one of Ryan Higa's good friends. So he's in a lot of like Ryan Higa videos.
OG YouTube.
Yeah, like OG
okay.
YouTubers. He's part of the dance crew that dances in like they're
The
like the
first
first to go.
performance.
Quest crew.
Yeah. So he's part of the dance crew, which was neat. And I was like, oh my gosh. But then also like Mike Bowe is in the audience as an extra. I noticed that.
Oh,
I don't know
didn't see
why.
that.
Yeah. I don't know how I found him, but I was just like, that's Mike Bowe. Like Mike Bowe's like another
This
like
movie got people.
Which
Yeah.
is really something,
Yeah.
huh? Just real quick, Alexandra Shipp, Amy Carrero, young versions of them also in this movie.
Oh
playing
yeah,
high
Alexandra
schoolers.
Shipp was in this movie.
I don't know who that is.
Alexandra Shipp, most recently, I think, to my memory, was in the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Amy Carrero's on.
Amy Carrero
Critical
does
Role?
voice acting. No, she plays She-Ra in the She-Ra.
That's awesome.
I love She-Ra.
Do we want to do She-Ra?
I'd be down to do She-Ra.
I guess. Pushes 2 fingers together.
I have She-Ra thoughts.
2 final points that I wanted to make.
Okay.
The first point is that in the final chase scene, Ian's in a limo.
Mm-hmm.
Alvin and the Chipettes are on a toy motorcycle. The toy motorcycle is outpacing the limo, which is going on at like a pretty empty LA street. So I assume 30 miles per hour, which I can buy. Sure, a toy motorcycle can go faster than 30 miles per hour. Then Ian gets out of the limo and runs with his legs after the toy motorcycle, which I assume is still going as fast as it was going when it was out racing the limo, because why would they slow down?
Yeah.
Which means Ian is running at least 30 miles an hour, which would make him the fastest man alive. He should not be making music. Send him to the Olympics.
He could have cut through a store. We don't know exactly the path they took.
That's fair.
I think the implication is he cut through a store, but I like the idea that like he's like a super fast runner, but the only thing he's motivated by is like this like music career that he wants.
my money ticket.
Yeah.
Finally, and not to end on a downer, but there is something so of the time, but also so, oh, the bad guy lost. Let's punish him by making him do drag. That's just like, damn, you know? I mean, it's like 2000, whatever, like old movie. But if I paid big money to go see Britney Spears and I looked at the opening act and it said the Chipettes, and I was like, what the hell is that? Because I know of the Alvin and the Chipmunks, but I don't know of the Chipettes. And then a man wearing, I guess, a curtain,
some kind of sequin,
walks out with sock puppets. I would be thrilled.
Yeah.
I would be so happy.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell is happening, but this beats any opener.
I mean, I think the implication is like the Chipettes went viral after their initial like music performance. So
So I
people
guess-
would probably know who they are. I don't know though.
They'd be expecting them.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to many concerts, but I feel like if there was some random opener act and it was just David Cross in a sequin dress doing sock puppets, I feel like everyone would go absolutely ballistic. I feel like they'd love it.
Yeah. I've only been to like a handful, not even a handful of concerts. I've seen some bad openers. David Cross knocks it out of the park.
He's got talent. The execution is not there.
The character, you mean?
Yeah. No, David Cross is fine.
Ian Hawke.
Ian Hawke, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on this wild adventure. This is the last episode of season 3.
Whoa.
What a way to go out. Thank you to everyone who's been listening for this whole season. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, consider giving us a rating or a review, or emailing us your thoughts at nostalgiaclubpodcast@gmail.com, or sending us a message on Instagram at nostalgiaclubpodcast.
Hello, listener. Jino here. Nostalgia Club Season 3 may be ending, but If you're looking for a show that's a little more analytical and a lot more researched, that focuses specifically on adaptations, you should check out Adapt or Die. KJ and Pippa talk about all sorts of adaptations from books and movies to video games and even musicals. They've just launched season 9, and their latest episode about 50 Shades of Grey is fantastic. So go check them out.
We will be back with season 4 at some point.
Well, are we going to do a recap episode?
Oh, yeah. We always do a recap episode. So, of course, we will do that. Date to be determined because we're making a podcast. So we need some time to make the podcast.
Ghost Inspectors.
Ghost Inspectors.
Thank you to everyone who contributed to our crowdfund campaign. Hey, if you have anything you want us to talk about in that recap episode, any comments, any concerns, things we said that you disagree with, facts that I said that are wrong, because I do that sometimes.
We all do.
Let us know.
Until next time.
And a 1, and a 2.
Oh, I forgot to tell my one chipmunk story.
Ooh.
My friends and I used to sing in chipmunk voices when we were doing like mic tests and stuff.
Now I can buy that from
here we go.
Victoria. So let's hear what Victoria's chipmunk voice is.
Oh no! I don't know what song to sing.
Do the Christmas one that the Chipmunks would do. You know that one?
No.
Where they go, Christmas, Christmas time is here.
Oh.
Time for joy.
Time for joy and time for cheer.
That's pretty good.
I like it. It's great.
Hey, that's better than anything. That's
We called
it's
ourselves
better.
Grace and the Chipmunks.
Why not Victoria and the Chipmunks?
Because I wasn't. Actually, I was like, Grace wasn't a lead singer either. It just sounded good to be like Grace and the Chipmunks.
Just punchy.
Yeah.
Well, whether it's Grace and the Chipmunks or Victoria and the Chipmunks, it is punchier than David Seville and the Chipmunks.
That's true.
Did that count as an until next time?
Probably. I don't know.
Does anyone have anything better?
Until next time, don't watch. I don't know. I can't think of one. Until next time.
Hey, there's worse. There's way worse out there. If your kids want to watch Alvin and the Chipmunks 2, the Squeakquel,
You could do worse.
it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Like on a big picture,
I enjoyed it as a kid. I remember.
I mean, everyone's
fun.
having fun. It's a good
Yeah.
time. Christmas time is here. Time for joy and time for cheer.
My voice gave out on me.
I was like, I hope we're not doing the second verse, and I don't know it. I only know the first verse because Michael just sang it.
See you in season 4.
Yay!